Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We constantly hear about this massive global shift to electric vehicles. But what does that transition actually look like on the ground, inside an older existing condominium building? Well, today we're unpacking a fascinating real-world micro case study, the Minto Water Garden Condo Corporation. We're going to track their specific journey to retrofit their building for EV charging. As you'll see, it's essentially a giant puzzle of infrastructure, money, and community politics. To get there, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the EV charging dilemma. Then, we'll meet the Evcs committee, explore the infrastructure challenge, compare vendor solutions, crunch the financials, and finally, look at the final decision. So how exactly does an older condo adapt to the EV revolution? This is the overarching challenge framing our entire case study. Because it's one thing to build a brand new smart building with chargers literally at every parking spot. It's entirely another to take a building with older electrical panels, limited physical space, and a highly fixed reserve fund and somehow drag it into the electric future without bankrupting the homeowners. Which brings us right to Section 1, the EV charging dilemma. Just to understand the sheer scope of this problem, a building survey revealed that 31 residents needed a charger immediately, or at least within the next 1 to 3 years. Think about that for a second. 31 distinct parking spots, all suddenly needing to pull heavy electrical loads from a grid that was absolutely, positively not designed for it. This wasn't some abstract problem they could just kick down the road. The demand was already right there inside the building.
So, how do they handle it? Section 2. Meet the EVCS committee.
Facing this undeniable demand, the condo board knew this was way too complex for a standard monthly meeting. So they carved out a dedicated electric vehicle charging station task force. And what I really love about this roster is the mix of stakeholders. You've got 3 everyday unit owners, Cyril, Stephen, and Alina, partnered with 2 official board members, Roberto and Daniel. Their mandate was crystal clear: investigate the options and give the board an action plan that actually meets the needs of these EV owners without compromising the whole building. And this second-floor media room, this became their literal battleground. It looks like a cozy little home theater, right? But this room, with its 9 seats and overhead projector, is where thousands of dollars and the entire technological future of the building would be debated. Cyril, one of our committee members, even had to coordinate with the building concierge just to get the projector tested and make absolutely sure these visiting vendors wouldn't get parking tickets in the visitor lot while they pitched. The logistics were very real. Moving on to Section 3, the infrastructure challenge. Because, before inviting vendors in, the committee had to intimately understand their own physical limitations. When they went down into the P1 parking level to review the electrical panels, they faced a massive roadblock. Looking at those towering gray electrical boxes, they quickly realized a major fairness issue. Think about it. If the panel is on one side of the garage, the owners parked right next to it would pay very little for their wiring. But an owner parked all the way on the opposite end, their piping and wiring costs would be astronomical. The committee had to figure out how to level the playing field so installation was financially fair for everyone, no matter where their parking spot happened to be.
With those physical constraints in mind, we hit Section 4, comparing vendor solutions.
The committee actually injected some major urgency into the process here. They scheduled these back-to-back presentation showdowns to evaluate 4 competing proposals. They essentially squeezed 4 major corporate pitches into just 2 evening sessions, June 14th and June 21st, right back in that second-floor media room. They required each vendor to fill out a specialized questionnaire beforehand and then literally stand before the committee to answer both deep infrastructure questions and specific unit owner concerns. And a core technical debate quickly emerged during these pitches. It's a classic engineering standoff. On one side, you have Mike Spence from Simply Electrical, who advocated for using what was already there. He wanted to integrate smart meters into the existing panel, but that brought the infrastructure and communication costs up to a whopping $54,000. On the flip side, Manny Alter from EV Direct argued that replacing the old panel entirely with a brand new, centralized smart panel would drastically reduce the cost of running pipes and wires through the garage, bringing their estimate way down to $32,000. But wait, beyond just the wiring, the committee had to compare drastically different business models. While Simply Electrical and EV Direct debated upfront infrastructure, EnerSavings pitched a totally different zero-cost rental subscription. They wouldn't charge the condo a single dollar up front. Instead, owners would just pay a monthly fee. Meanwhile, SWTCH focused heavily on smart load management, essentially software ensuring all the cars don't draw power at the exact same time and blow the building's fuses. The committee was suddenly comparing apples to oranges, to subscriptions. Which naturally leads us right into Section 5, crunching the financials.
Technical capabilities aside, they had to heavily scrutinize the bottom line, because in condo governance, the reserve fund is sacred. Mike Spence from Simply Electrical strategically reminded the committee about a ticking clock. He pointed out that if they submitted a grant application before an August 11th deadline, they could potentially get 50% of the residents' costs subsidized by the government. This added immense financial stakes and serious pressure to the committee's June deliberations. They really had to move fast. To sweeten the deal even further, by mid-July, Simply Electrical offered some really significant financial incentives. If the committee awarded them the contract quickly, they promised a discounted, locked-in $210 per year admin fee for residents, short-term communication hub installs, and they even threw in a free charging station for the visitor parking section. It just goes to show you how fiercely competitive this emerging EV infrastructure market really is right now.
All right, bringing us to Section 6, the final decision. After all the presentations, the endless emails, the basement electrical tours, and the intense financial debates, the committee had to actually deliver a verdict. Through meticulous organization, they executed 3 final steps: consolidating that survey data on short, mid, and long-term needs, addressing any unreturned vendor questionnaires, and finally presenting a synthesized recommendation to the condo board. They had to weigh the immediate needs of 31 residents against the long-term health of the building. They balanced a $54,000 existing panel upgrade against a $32,000 smart panel against a $0 rental model. Their final step was packaging all this incredibly dense data into one clear action plan for a board vote. So I'll leave you with this final thought to consider. As infrastructure ages and EV demand absolutely skyrockets, how prepared is your own community's board to navigate this inevitable shift? The Minto Water Garden story proves that adapting to green technology isn't just about going out and buying the cars. It's about volunteers sitting in media rooms on a Tuesday night, arguing over electrical panels and government grant deadlines. It's complex, it's messy, but it's absolutely necessary. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start asking these exact questions at your own community meetings. Until next time.